What is up there, ladies and gentlemen? Yesterday, I woke up sucking on lemon, but today, I have kind of a weird one for you. Whether or not you like this game will likely depend on whether or not you like a particular band, that band being Radiohead. This is Kid Amnesia, I'm just going to call it that, Kid Amnesia Exhibition. Essentially, this is an exploration game / walking simulator / virtual art installation. I hate that term because it sounds so pretentious. Based on the band Radiohead. Specifically, this is based on Radiohead's albums Kid A and Amnesiac, which came out in 2000 and 2001 respectively. These albums, and Kid A in particular, are alternatively called some of the greatest albums of all time, or overly pretentious and derivative. I tend to come down closer to the former, just based on the creativity, composition, and especially the production of those albums. Seriously, Kid A sounds absolutely incredible, just in terms of the soundscape it delivers. Like, listen to that album with a good pair of headphones, and you will be blown away. Or you might hate it, what do I know? Anyways, we aren't here to talk about the album specifically, we're here to talk about the game. Kid Amnesia Exhibition was released in 2021, so like 10 years after the album came out. It was developed by Name the Machine, Arbitrary Good Productions, and Epic Games. Notably, it was developed in collaboration with Radiohead singer Tom York, producer Nigel Godrich, and cover artist Stanley Donwood, so this is certainly an official, rather than like fan-made or inspired by project, which is kind of cool. The game, as mentioned, is a walking simulator or exploration game. There are no enemies, pits, or deaths, no score, nor levels, and no goals other than just to walk around, see the sights, and hear the sounds. It's worth noting that this game is free, so we don't have to worry about how much it would be reasonable for something like that to cost, which is good, because that's a whole can of worms on its own. It's available on PC, Mac, and PS5. Sorry, Xbox. I do want to get this out of the way before we go any further. I hate pretentious statements and analyses of art. Like, yes, art can be meaningful, even deeply meaningful. And in fact, I even have a background in like literary and art analysis, so I get it. However, I cringe when I read stuff like what the New Yorker said about this game. A brutalist cathedral full of Byzantine corridors, majestic rooms, banks of buzzing cathode ray tube televisions, and carpets of fluttering sketchbook pages. Even Tom York and Stanley Donwood sounded kind of pretentious talking about this one, referring to the original idea as an astounding steel carapace that would be inserted into the urban fabric of London like an ice pick into Trotsky. Okay, but like, shut up. Is it cool? Yeah, I think so. Can you possibly get some deeper meaning from this? Sure. Is it important to the world that this game exists, or does this change the way we look at media? Stop it. Get some help. If you feel that way after experiencing this game, that's awesome, and I wouldn't take that away from you. But generally, I feel like art that sets out to be important, with a capital I, fails far more often than art that just tries to do something like its own thing and ends up being important based on content, composition, or context. Anyways, now I'm sounding pretentious, so let's move on. Ultimately, the question we're here to ask and answer is, Kid Amnesia Exhibition worth playing? Well, I think so, and I'll attempt to explain why. Obviously, it goes without saying, if you aren't a Radiohead fan or aren't familiar with Kid A or Amnesiac, I wouldn't bother with this one. If you do like those albums, either a lot or just a little, I probably would check it out. I made my way through what I believe was everything in a little under an hour, so this game does not outstay its welcome. I'm going to show some snippets of gameplay here, but nothing that will spoil the entire experience, so even after watching this, it's still probably worth a look for yourself. So what do you actually do in this game? Well, here's a map provided on the official website. You can see that there's quite a bit to look at, and not necessarily stuff that you have to do in a specific order. So essentially, you make your way through, you go where you want, you look at what you want. As you go through the different rooms, you'll see a lot of pretty surreal visuals combined with chopped up portions and samples of songs from both Kid A and Amnesiac. There are specific rooms for most of the album's songs here. You get like a room for How to Disappear Completely, you get a room for the National Anthem, one of my favorites. And of course, everything in its right place is prominently played. You can also check out some concept art, sketchbooks, and drafts of lyrics that are scattered around in different places, which is pretty neat. There aren't really any dead ends, so you're encouraged to keep moving, stay as long as you want in different sections, and take everything in at your own pace and in your own order. You know, two people playing the game might take different paths and end up in different places at different times. In addition to walking around, there are a couple sections where you'll be sort of like locked in a room or set in a room while you sit and watch some fairly trippy visuals that accompany like an entire song. Almost like a visual representation of the song, not quite a music video. Worth noting that everything here is in surround sound, so if you play with good headphones, it does sound absolutely amazing, much like the albums it's based on. By the way, yes, we do get to a room where we see the iconic Kid A album art. I'm soy jacking so hard right now. But I will be honest, that actually was really cool. One thing that's kind of nice is, like I mentioned, you can take as long or as little time as you want in each area. So if you want to look at all the sketches, see the lyrics, and explore every nook and cranny, you can. If you want to just kind of get the gist of things and move on, you can also do that. If you're really into a particular song, you can hang out a little bit longer in that room and move past the room for a song that you don't really care for as much. And what's kind of nice is, since the game is free, you don't have to worry about getting your money's worth. You can engage with it as much or as little as you want. All in all, I think you probably get the idea pretty easily of whether or not this one will be for you. Personally, I think it was neat for a one-time playthrough, or walkthrough, or whatever you want to call it. I don't really see myself coming back to it, but there's actually nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, I kind of think it's a positive. As I get busier with work and other IRL stuff, I kind of appreciate these shorter experiences that I can finish and then move on to the next thing. That said, this is certainly not a substitute for just like sitting down and listening to the albums. I definitely thought that was what it was going to be when I went into it. Like, oh, you're going to walk through and it's going to play the entire song, and then you'll move on to the next song, and you'll move on to the next song, and then you'll just kind of go through the albums as it were. But that's not what it is. So if you're going in thinking it's going to be that, it's not. So would I recommend Kid Amnesia? Yeah, I think so. Obviously, you got to be into Radiohead, because this isn't going to get you into Radiohead if you're not already into them, most likely. You got to be into kind of surreal visuals, which I certainly am, and you got to appreciate exploration and walking simulator style games that don't have any particular goal. But if that kind of sounds like you, then I definitely recommend this one, especially, again, at the low price of free. That's about all I have to say about this one. It's a fairly simple concept, but definitely one that's worth checking out for yourself. We'll be posting a long play, quote unquote, version of this that was my walkthrough, exploring everything and seeing everything there is to be seen. However, like I mentioned, your experience is going to be a little bit different because you might go through things in a different order. So even taking a look at that, it's probably still worth making your way through on your own. Anyways, that's about it. I want to thank you very much for watching this one. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next video. Until then, take care. God bless.